Well, what's going on? Artists in recovery. Hot as hell out here on the West Coast. We're almost pushing triples again today. It's noon, 12:01 Pacific Standard Time, August 6, 2023. I hope you're enjoying that movie of yours, The Covenant. There was a lot of controversy concerning about that particular movie because they thought it might be uh, pushed by all those nut jobs that believe in about wokeism. And I went crazy over the damn thing. And you probably lost track of the meaning behind it, even worse. You went off about Afghanistan and didn't cover the one basic thing that happened on September 11th, 2001. You forgot that our country was attacked physically. Now, originally, it was attacked in the 90s by one particular Oman, and we got him in jail still to this day. He tried to blow up the World Trade Center with explosives in a van, but it didn't take. Just did a little damage, but not much. What did the damage was two airplanes that took out Tower 1, actually Tower 2 first, and then Tower 1 secondly. And then there was a lot of damage to World Trade 3 and 4. In fact, the whole complex. That day of days, I had been working here in the West Coast in an office complex. I worked in a health insurance company at the time, and we had seen what the hell happened, even to passengers that tried to take over a plane to stop the terrorists from destroying Capitol by sacrificing. They sacrificed themselves in Pennsylvania over it. One plane actually did. There were four airlines got hijacked. One actually hit the Pentagon, did major damage to it. It took them months to get the thing rebuilt. Another year or two to have a memorial for it. Around 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, my family is trying to, and then that hour, trying to wake up and get things together. But they went live on the local news out here on ABC 7. ABC 7 is affiliated with the ABC News Group. Still is. Good Morning America was looking at one of the towers, Tower 2, that was smoking. Now, they said earlier on they thought it was, until I looked back at the videos that they had, they thought it was a small plane that crashed right into the tower. It's no problem. They could deal with a small plane strike. But they couldn't stand with the momentum of an airline that crashed into them. Diesel fuel spilling all over the damn place and starting a fire inside. And people are having issues evacuating. During that day, the entire fire department of New York City and other areas were coming to the aid. They didn't realize how bad it was going to get. They started hearing rumors in the FAA and in different places that our country was going to be attacked, but our portions of the government ignored it. I guess the CIA picked up on it, NSA picked up on it, FBI just yawned, I guess. Our intelligence community was torn half and half whether or not the information was legitimate or not before the attack hit. You know, there is a 9/11 Commission report on the PDF files out there you could read. because they had a major commission on this one and they had a major investigation on this damn thing. This was no whitewash. This was happening live on people's channels everywhere. CNN picked up on it, MSNBC, NBC, ABC, CBS, Fox News. We didn't realize that at that one plane, it was going to be the attack on our country, major. And then they heard reports about another plane coming in. And they weren't quite sure about it, and then we saw it on the news. My mother, my brother, and I are watching it on the televisions in our home. And it hit. Tower 1. Midway. Number 1 had already suffered a major structural damage, and it was getting worse and worse. They were never designed, back in the 70s, to withstand a major impact. Maybe a light plane, but not a fueled and fully crewed and populated plane with plenty of fuel and acting as a ballistic missile. There are numerous reports, Daryl, I'm sorry. Numerous 9/11 reports out there. I'm not just talking about reading material. I'm talking about visuals. I'm talking about documentaries. I'm talking about people who got interviewed. Reporters had talked to people. Film creators had talked to people. Survivors. People working behind the scenes. Anyone and everyone that they could put into their documentaries about the 9/11 incident. Incident, my ass. This is a 9/11 attack. They call it Patriots Day these days, but I don't call it Patriots Day. I call it 9/11. I went to work scared as hell. I work in a tower. I work in a second level tower. I got there and we had seen the reports of the Pentagon had a plane crashed right into them. Videos on this one. Videos. We had the skies locked down. Nobody was flying. And if they were flying, they were going to get their asses shot. All of our military assets, air assets, were up in the air. We were on a nationwide lockdown. The beanbags that you see here are representations of the people who lost their lives. The soldiers for the Pentagon. The bear represents those wearing the badge of EMS and law enforcement in the towers. My brother knew a friend of his. He was in Port Authority. They had an office in Tower 1. He lost his friend when the building collapsed on him. They were in the process of getting other people the hell out of there, not to mention themselves. I was in the office with a portable television with several other people who are watching this on the news. We were watching how something like this was happening in front of our eyes. Daryl, our country had been majorly attacked. We haven't had anything like this since 1941. Pearl Harbor was only U.S. territory. It wasn't even a state. It was a U.S. base that we had. We built it up into a base. We moved our naval assets from San Diego and a few other places up and down the coastline to consolidate in the Pacific because of stuff happening across the world that would eventually affect us more ways than one. Back in 1941, we had a country called Japan. You surely remember your geography at this point and your history. Japan had been in talks with the Axis powers in Europe. They wanted to control the Pacific. They had already been marched into China. China's government unofficially asked for help. We didn't have a Mao Zedong in there. We didn't have the Communist Red Book in there. But we didn't like what the hell China was doing. There was volunteers that came out. Greg Boyington was one of those volunteers. And the thing is, he was a legitimate hero. He made his kills in Indochina, in the area, fighting to protect China against the invasion of Japan during that time. If you ever seen or heard the show Baba Black Sheep, it was Hollywood embellishment. But they were still talking about the same guy, Greg Pappy Boyington, who was the consultant on this show. Pappy made his kills in China. And then, because it was off the books, he still went in to help with the United States Marine Corps, since he still was a Marine during that time. And he was stationed in the Solomons. Now, the exploits of his squadron was made into a Hollywood theater. But still, he came in with his skills, and he also took out more Japanese and air aces that way. But we were at war. When 9/11 hit, we didn't know who the hell the enemy was. We didn't have our intelligence communities and our own internal departments talking with each other directly. We had to get that going. Excuse me for a second. Damn flies are getting all the freaking places, I swear to God. I gotta protect my drinks for these damn idiots. Alright, back to it. We didn't know who the enemy was. We had to go through our intelligence sources. The whole United States intelligence and military, they were on DEFCON 1 at that point. We had just been attacked. We didn't know who the hell was going to hit us. Our command and control were being affected. The Pentagon is part of the command and control, but we have other areas that can act as command and control. But Washington was the area that was getting hit. And New York. That fourth plane was going to take out the White House. Or at least the Capitol. One of those two. And it would have. We would have had a disaster in that area of Washington, D.C., like you would not believe. And it took them some time to find out who the hell hit us. It took a longer time to find out why. A Saudi numbnuts, Osama bin Laden. I don't know what the hell his major malfunction was, except probably he didn't like what the hell happened in Afghanistan when the Soviets were over there, and the U.S. didn't help him very much after the Soviets pulled out. We were supposed to be helping them in the Afghanistan, and the Taliban just took over. And then you had ISIS. Don't you like all these nice terrorist names that we got out there? So Osama had people trained to fly jets. He was making a political point. He was making a point to the United States government. We fucked up. We didn't know it at the time until we actually started getting pieces together. And when we found out that it was Osama bin Laden, and we had to track this bastard down. And yeah, George Walker Bush, President George Walker Bush, had wanted to clean things up in Iraq. He used this as an excuse So you went after Saddam. But we found out that the guys who were doing this were based out of Afghanistan, Pakistan area. Hello, Kandahar. Politics? Part of it was politics, and the rest of it was all pure revenge at this point over here. We're making a statement to the terrorists: you don't fuck with the Americans, we'll fuck you back. Granted, been a long ass war. Iraq had taken its damage, had taken its toll on a lot of people I knew. So did Afghanistan. We became the army that the Soviet military could not be. We weren't there to conquer it. We were there to kick people's ass. And in the end, we were kicking our own asses at the same time. Our assets out there. This was bungled when we actually had President Trump trying to get our people out of there. Open air deal with the Taliban. Open air. If we hadn't mentioned what the hell was going on. But he wanted everything out in the open and chaotic like crazy. It's the reason why we had the back channels in the first place. Keep things on the QT and not going insane. We could have had better cooperation. But Trump forced our hand, and Biden had to agree to it. He had no choice. We did a sloppy pullout. The Taliban wasn't going to help. They were going to be finding those who actually helped the United States and go after them. The basis of the movie that you're watching. We screwed up because of the pullout that we executed, but we started up with Trump and his bullshit. I still blame the son of a bitch for it, for not understanding a damn thing when he came into office. He wanted the power, he wanted the ego, he wanted the name, he wanted his name in lights and glory. He discovered that running a country is a lot worse than running a company. With a company, you can run it to the ground or bankrupt the son of a bitch, try to get a write-off, and just go to the next one and the next one. You can't do that to a country. You can't do that to everybody else around there. It's different animals altogether. So I was trying to make an indication to you. It's politics. You have to understand the damn game. You don't like it? Reality check. Deal with it. The movie The Covenant is probably almost good fiction, but it's also touching a good point that should have been made a long time ago. We got the NGOs in there trying to get survivors out. It takes time, it takes money, it takes connections, it takes effort. I know, to say the government here could do that. We should have done that. We're not going to be doing it. Politics, save face. We have to go through channels for that. But not to mention, we got to deal with the Taliban, who's got to be cooperative with us. And if they're not cooperative with us, then we can't get those people out of there now, can we? So how would you, Daryl, who hasn't been in the military, who hasn't served the United States government in any way or capacity, would have a solution for the situation? Do I have a solution? I'm letting the damn politicians deal with this shit. Do I trust them? I got no choice. For back channels to work, for NGOs to work, they got to work as they work. It sucks. It's an imperfect world. We don't live in glass houses all the damn place. We don't live in Fantasyland. We don't live in a Disneyland attitude. We deal with a sucky reality at this point over here that we got nasty people doing nasty shit. We got politicians still muddling around and playing head games. The same politicians we keep voting in there think are going to be helping us, and they're backstabbing us left and right because of their own damn political game. Hello, welcome to Politics 101. Welcome to World Politics 101 at this point. It's not that easy dealing with what we're dealing with right now as it is. We can be pissed off at the whole damn situation. Yeah, we can voice our concerns to the other people. We're supposed to. That's our right. We get educated. But we have to know the score on all sides to make rational decisions. Not just one side and just hear it over and over again. It becomes a mantra. You have to see everything. Dude, I'm seriously going to pin you on this one. Get yourself a crystal pyramid. Not a plastic crystal. Shine a white light through it. Observe the colors. Now, those colors are representing wavelengths, viewpoints, perception, context. Understand? Not everything is solid, but all are connected to the white light being shined into the prism. But we're seeing all the wavelengths. One thing, one section at a time. We're not seeing the entire way. We're not seeing the entire thing. We're focused on our own crap. That's how polarized we get. Other forces and other things are locking us into that. We have to broaden our scope. We have to broaden our vision. We have to broaden it. We have to keep an open mind. Otherwise, you're going to be locked in like the zeros and ones in the algorithms out there, pal. You got to see the bigger picture. You're an artist, damn it. You are an artist. You know what an artist is? A man with a creative ability to interpret, to create something, to make something special, to understand what kind of message he's communicating. Now, surely, you would have had impressions of different things, an open mind to capture something that's sticking in your brain that you just had to do a picture on. The same thing goes for writing. We have to have examples to make our stories come to life. We have to make sure that in there is a point to be made. We can be laser focused on our work, on the message we're conveying at this point. But I understand sometimes the message gets muddled. I see a self-portrait of Van Gogh. Besides hearing the stories of what of this guy's history, and that he was suffering through mental illness, through his capacity, he was able to create the most beautiful paintings that anybody else had seen. He was making points we still hadn't been able to figure out, or half the time we have, and just hadn't been applying them. You thought it was unnecessary for us to lose lives in other countries. I said before, dude, and I was trying to educate you in this one. You got to understand history, damn it. Why? Why good men must die? Because they do. Politics happens, resource wars happens, border wars. The countries that we got going on right now, even in Africa, are going after each other left and right. The players in there will switch off, but not the motivators, not the power guys who are running things left and right. Money, power, prestige. Resources being drained for those who are willing to throw force into it. Again, history, dude. History. Short-sightedness. I didn't understand this as a kid. I sure as hell didn't understand enough of it as a teenager. If I had, maybe I would have done better in college during those days. Hell, maybe I could have done better and graduated in '84, but I didn't. I was watching, I was observing, but it wasn't sinking in enough. I retained memories, but I didn't have the context, maturity, and understanding of that of today to apply it back then. Hindsight being 2020, going back in time, we can't change the damn time, but we can learn from it. Learn from our memories, our experiences, and everything else. The past does affect our present, which affects the future. And if we keep forgetting, we keep repeating. The old adage haunts us to this day, Daryl. Pay attention to it.